Nowhere in the contract did it say destroy half the house, but hey, life's full of surprises. The house had an existing dormer, which is a room in the roof, and we wanted to extend it and to get building regulations. So we got planning permission and then we commissioned a builder to do the work. The project cost was unbelievably £38,000. The day the house collapsed was the 6th of August 2020. My wife and I were on holiday in a holiday home in North Wales. 9:30 in the morning on that day, the phone rang, a number we didn't recognise. Policeman had said, "Are you Mr. Hobby?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Your house has collapsed. 2 men are trapped in the rubble, but they're screaming, so we take that as good news." And I'm like, good news? How can that be good news? And then the line went dead. When the dormer was being done, the builder decided to take the whole roof off and replace the roof. But he didn't put in props for the party wall, that's the wall adjoining us and our neighbours, the gable, which is the front triangle, and the chimney. By not propping it with wooden props or steel props, he turned those structures into what the engineer called freestanding structures, and they were obviously liable to collapse. It was the chimney pot and the chimney stack collapsing through into the first floor that caused all the damage, and that led to pretty catastrophic losses on our part and a catastrophic accident that left people injured, left the house destroyed. When we engaged the builder, one of the first things we did was talk about insurance, and he showed us his Direct Line tradesman's insurance certificate. It was Direct Line business to business. A day after the accident, we actually called Direct Line, who confirmed that there was a policy in place and confirmed the amounts of liability cover that were there. And so I just assumed, well, he's covered. And 2 days after the accident, Direct Line actually sent along their loss adjuster. Anyway, after that, Direct Line effectively went into radio silence for 6 months. They did what insurers call reserving their position. So they reserved their position for 6 months and refused to make any comment. They said they were investigating. And throughout this whole process, here we are nearly 9 months later, with Direct Line still refusing to pay. There's a financial difficulty, there's an emotional difficulty, and there's a practical difficulty. We've had to go and live somewhere else in a small flat by a railway line for 8.5 months. No, the whole thing has been an absolute nightmare.
Immediately when you talk to James, you understand how he's feeling and how frustrating the whole process must have seemed. We spent a long time talking to each other on the telephone, looking at his documentation, to try and find angles that we could work through that would help him recoup some of the losses caused by the collapse of the building. We do an amount of pro bono work every year of this type where we feel insurers are not looking after their policyholders properly, and this was another one of those situations really. The biggest problem with any homeowner, particularly when they're doing to what to them is a large renovation project, is that most of them have no acquired knowledge. And so doing a renovation project is a little bit like walking into a pitch black room with holes all over the floor. And they're trying their best not to fall down them, but actually you don't know what you don't know. The perfect position for James would have been to engage an insurance broker who specialised in placing renovation risks to make sure that the contractual arrangements between him and the contractor were such that he'd stayed in control of the insurance for both the house and the works during the project. And then if this incident had happened and he was operating under those terms, the damage to the existing structure would have been covered, the damage to the works that had already taken place would have been covered, and in terms of liability, he'd have had absolute security knowing that if the contractor's cover failed and the contractors ended up directing personal injury claims against him, he would have been insured. For most people, their home is their single largest asset. When what you value most is at highest risk, is the point at which you need to concentrate most on having the right insurance cover in place.